Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students, and welcome back. Now we are starting the lecture from the previous slides. Already we have discussed some coding standard. Now we are going to discuss the coding standard for classes and interface classes. How we will declare and use the classes and how we will declare and use the interface classes. Basically, we use classes in Java and C++, and also we use interface classes. So when coding Java classes interface, the following format should be used: no spaces between a method name and a parenthesis. There should be no space between the method name and then there is the start of the parenthesis. The parentheses are used to define the parameters of the functions or methods. So we should not use the spaces between these two elements of the programming. Open braces, also called the curly braces, appears at the end of the same line as declaring statements. Closing braces. So the open braces should be on the same line. For example, here you can see the class simple and extends objects. So class simple is in fact inherited from the object class, and the opening braces or the opening the parentheses are on the same line with that of the class declaration. So we should use that on the same line. Even if you can insert here, you can press the enter here, you can place it on the another line, but it is better to use this on the same line because this is Carnegie and Mellon style. So closing braces starts a line by itself intended to match its corresponding opening statement, except when it is a null statement. Null statement means that the statement which is empty should appear immediately after the braces. So if there is the null statement like this one, the braces should appear immediately on the same line. But if this is not null like this one, so the closing braces or the closing brackets should be appears on the next lines after the last line. So this is the good rule of declaring the classes. So methods are separated by the blank lines. For example, this is the functions or method and this is the blank line. This is another function or method and this is another blank line. So there should be blank line after one statement. When a group of statement, there should be a blank line and the new statement or new group of statement should be declared, and there then you can see this is again a blank line. So this is the standard used for declaring the classes, and the same is used also for the interface class. So now statements. We have many statements in C++ and C and Java languages. For example, this is the incrementation statement. This is also another incrementation. This is one incrementation. Another one is decrementing. So we should declare each such a statement on a single line, and we should not group these two statements in one line. It is should be avoided. So each line should be contained at most one statement. These are two different examples. Compound statements, right? Compound statements are those statements which in fact perform one task by using many other statements. So compound statement are statements that contain lines of statement enclosed in braces. For example, we use these braces. These are called compound statements. Okay, so that enclosed the statement should be indented one or more levels than the compound statement. Opening braces should be at the end of the lines and beginning statement. Closing braces should be on the line and be intended to the beginning of the compound statement. Braces are used all around statement, even single statement when they are a part of the control structure such as if else or for statement. This makes it easier to add the statement without constantly introducing bugs due to forgetting to add the braces. Basically, we already use these standards that when you are using compound statement, for every compound statement we should use these two types of braces, also called the curly brackets, and we should use one blink line after every compound statement, so which can in fact help us to achieve the purpose of the readability, and also it resolve the complexity issues for the coding. Now, return statement. Often you use the return statement. For example, return of the function, we use return statement. A return statement with a value should not use the parentheses unless they make the return values more obvious in some way. For example, return. For return statement, if it is the return single return statement, we should avoid the parentheses, the braces like this. So, for example, return my test dot size. My test dot size is the, in fact, a variable or objects. It is calling a function. So, object name dot size and return statement. So, return for the return statement, braces are not important. If it is a single return statement, then braces are not important and should not be used. And if it are more statements, then you can use the braces. Okay. Now, if statement, if else, and if else, if are else statements. For example, we are using if statement. So here is the K and R standard. If conditions statements. If condition statement, else statement. And if condition statement, else if condition statement, else condition. If statement always use if statement always use braces. Avoid the following error-prone form. For example, if condition statement, it should be avoided because this omits the braces. We should always use the braces because braces makes particular chunk of code. It makes the block of code. So if we don't use the braces, maybe mistakenly if we use another statement, so this statement will not be the part of this if statement. So that's why it is recommended to use the braces. Now, naming conventions. We have different naming convention for the different elements of the programming. For example, packages. Packages are in fact those statements which are declared on the top of the class or on the top of the file of the code, and they contain some built-in functions, and the prefix for unique package name is always written in all lowercase. In fact, these packages are the standard and they are used in the particular compilers. The compiler uses this package, so we cannot convert this package to our own standards. So we should always use lowercase characters with the dot. For example, com is class, upper class dot. Apple is the child of the com, and similarly, QuickTime is the also the child of the Apple, and V2 is also the QuickTime child. So V2 is a leaf class, while com is a top parent class. Similarly, these classes act like this. So we should always use the lowercase with the dot in the declaring a package or using the package. Now this is ISO standard 31666 and 1981 standard. Subsequent components of the package name vary according to the organization's its own internal naming convention. Such convention might specify that certain directory name components be division, department, project, machine, or login names. Sometimes different companies use their own style for declaring the packages. So it depends on there, but it is the ISO standards. So we should use the ISO standard. Classes. So class in fact is just a piece of code which has contained the data and member function. The member function operate on the data members. So always the class is a keyword, and every class should start with the capital letter. For example, raster, and the next should be the small letters. For example, raster, raster. But if there are two different words, for example, image sprite, so we should declare the class name with the starting every characters with a capital, and then if there is two words, so the next word should also start with the capital. So this is a good style of the coding, right? So class name should be the nouns in a mixed case with the first letter of each internal words capitalized. Try to keep your class name simple and descriptive. Every class name should be simple and it should be meaningful. It should be meaningful according to the purpose of the class. For example, we say that class student registration. So student registration, it is because it's registered the student. So try to keep your class name simple and descriptive. Use whole words, avoid acronyms and abbreviation unless abbreviation is much more widely used than long formats such as URL or HTML. Basically, abbreviation should be avoided because abbreviation makes the class name very much confused. Sometimes another programmer can't understand the abbreviation. So, although internationally used abbreviation can be used, but our own abbreviation should be avoided. Similarly, interface classes are those classes which links multiple classes and they are called in another classes. Interface name should be capitalized like class name. So interface and then the name of the interface exactly like the class name. Interface storing. So all the rules are exactly are applied as like the classes on the interface classes. Methods. Methods are also called the functions which processes the data. So methods should be verbs in mixed case with the first letter lowercase, with the first letter of the each internal word capitalized. Now, in the method should start with the lowercase character. For example, run or lowercase alphabet. Similarly, run fast. But if there are two words, the next word should start with the capital alphabet. Similarly, get background. Background is a single word. So we should start the first alphabet with a small and next one should be started with the capital. Now variables. Variables are used a lot in the programming. We use it for many purposes such as declaring the memory locations or processing the data. For example, int I character C float my width. So every variable should be meaningful. It should start with small characters or small alphabets. Also, there should be no spaces between the name of the variables. Reserved words should not be used, and it should also be very much meaningful. Should not be more than 70 characters. So this is the rules for declaring the variable. Except for the variable are instant classes and class constant are in a mixed case with the lowercase first letter. Already we have defined that it should start with the lowercase first letter. Variable name should not start with the underscore. In the many language, it can start with the underscore, but it cannot be start with the dollar symbol or underscore. Even though both are allowed, but it should not be started with a dollar score or underscore. Variable name should be short yet meaningful. It should be not more than 70 characters, and it should be also very much meaningful according to the purpose of the variable. The choice of variable name should be mnemonic. Mnemonic means that it should be numerical. For example, it should do some sort of the operation. For example, float width. Width is a mnemonic name. Similarly, salary is the mnemonic name. Similarly, um, percentage and tax, etc. These words should be used. The choice of the variable name should be mnemonic that's designed to indicate the casual observers the intent of use. One character variable name should be avoided except for temporary throwaway variables. For example, these are one character variable. It should be avoided. But if you are using it for one purpose, just you are not calling that variable again and again, so you can use it. But if you are using a variable for different purposes and you are calling it in many places in the code, so it should be used very much meaningful. So component name temporary variable I, J, K, M, N for integer, C, D, and E for the character should be avoided. Constants. In fact, constants are those statements in the programming which cannot be changed and they are declared once. Mostly we can declare the constants, for example, like the global variables. So there is the ANSI styles for the declaring the constants. So ANSI styles for the declaring the constant is that constant name should be in the capital. Static final int min underscore width 4 is equal to 4. Static final int maximum width is equal to 999 and similarly static final int get the CPU is equal to 1. So constant should be in the capital letters, which define that it is the constant. Now the same rules are applied here as like the variable rules. So constants are mostly used. So constants are good practices in the programming. I suggest that use the constants as a global variable in the C++ style. Now assigning values to the variable. Oftenly we need to assign variable the values. For example, foo bar dot fchar. Foo bar is the object. Dot fchar is the variable name. Is equal to bar foo dot ichar is equal to c. This should be avoided and should not be used because it makes a lot of confusion. You can see that first this c is assigned to here to this, and then this is assigned to there. So it means that c is assigned to both this and this. But if we split these two equal statement in two different lines, so it will be looks better because it gives us good understandability of the program. Also, it provides us readability advantage. So that's why it should be avoided. Do not use assignment operator in place where it can be easily confused with the equalizer operator. For example, if C++ equal D++, it should also be avoided because first, if we execute this statement, so what operator will be called and executed first? For example, in says that in C++, the expression is evaluated from left to right. First, it will call the C, then it will increment the C, then it will uh, use this assign operators and D, and then it will decrement D. So this is very much confusing, and also this create the problems of the uh, the precedence of the operator should be written as like this: if C++ is equal to D++ not equal to 0. This means that if 0 is not equal to 0, if true is not equal to true, then perform the body of the operations. If 1 is not equal to 0, then perform something else. So do not use embedded assignment and attempt to improve runtime performance. This is just this is the job of the compiler example. Okay. For example, sometimes we use a lot of operators in one statement. It should be avoided. For example, uh, here D is assigned A is equal to B plus C plus R. So what's going on here? First of all, D is assigned here A is equal to B plus C is called, then A plus R. So then the plus R is in fact here called. So it should be avoided because it makes the statement very much complex. You can use these statements in the two different lines. For example, A is equal to B plus C and D is equal to A plus R. A is equal to B plus C and then should add A with the R. So this is much better than this one line. Now, miscellaneous practices are the parentheses. For example, we sometimes avoid the parentheses, but it also makes the meaning of the program very much difficult to understand. Also, it provides us the problem of the meaningfulness of the program. It will give us some different results. But for example, if a programmer wants this, then first of all, A should be checked with B and then C should be checked with D and the both should be checked with each other. That means that there is the AND operator. So if it returns 1, that means true, and also it returns true, then overall the result should be true. But if you don't use the braces here, that is the parenthesis, so it will produce some different result because the expression is evaluated from left to right. First of all, it should be checked with B and then it will be checked with C, not with the result of C and D equality. So this will make the concepts very much wrong. Also, it will give us different results. Okay, returning variables. Return variable are those statements which returns the values. For example, if Boolean expression return true is return false. It should be written instead of this return Boolean expression directly. For example, here you can see if Boolean expression then return true else return false. So it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 line of code. We can use alternative statement here. Return Boolean expression only. So it will in fact uh, consumes only one line of code. Similarly, if return condition return x else return y. So should be written as like the return condition. If condition is true, x returns, otherwise y should be returned. So this takes only one line of code, it takes four line of codes. So it is more compact and more understandable methods of programming. Similarly, this is also very much compact and very much understandable method of the coding as compared to this coding. So, respected student, this is the end of this class. So, if you have any question, you can drop in email to my ID. So, I will wait for your email. My email is m.kadim@cust.edu.pk. So, hope that you are enjoying and also you are getting to the topics. If you have any difficulty, please ask. Thank you very much.